Good evening from Sacred Space. The time is 5:36 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. It's been a lovely day. Actually, not too hot today. Quite pleasant, bearable. I went out and met my childhood friend Margaret Jakovac for lunch today, which was delightful. We haven't seen each other for quite some years. Can't remember. It's been about 8 years, something like that. Anyway, it was lovely, and I did my usual Tanya thing where I get so excited I open my mouth and can't stop talking. It's a kind of mania that overcomes me. She handled it well. I wore her out, but love you, Margaret. She handled it well. But I guess I said to her, I don't see you very often, so you only have to put up with this kind of madness once in a blue moon. And she just nodded very patiently. She'll sleep well tonight, my beautiful one. She really will. There's a reason why I kind of live alone and stay alone. So it's sad, but it's just not too many people can cope with me. I do calm down, I come off the excitement, but even then it's, can be a bit intense. Just trying to find what chapter we were up to with the ghost stories. Right, we've read chapter 6, okay. I don't remember reading it, but we had, yes, we've read chapter 6. It was about Frederick Fisher. Yes, I remember now. Right, before I completely lose my mind, let's carry on with the next chapter of The Great Australian Ghost Stories by Richard Davies. Chapter 7, The Mystery of the Min Min. But now the lonely diggers say that sometimes at the close of day they see a misty wraith flash by with the faint echo of a cry. Hello, Mr. Crow. It may be true, perhaps they do. I doubt it much, but what say you? The Demon Snowshoes by Barcroft Boake or Boake, Boakeke, Boake, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Australian bush poet, 1866 to 1892. What? He was less than 40 when he died. No, is that right? 92, 6, 36. Terribly young. Terribly young people of Earth. Yes, that is right. 36. No, that can't be right. It would be 26. 1866 to 1892. 6 and 6 is 12. Carry 1. 17. Yep, 26. Died while still a kid. Probably in, well, we don't know what he died of. So the Great War, 1914 to 1918, that claimed lots of young men, was quite some years after that. But anyway, died young, poor kid. Anyway, let us carry on. I'm depressed now thinking about that. It was quite a nice little poem. Oh, people of Earth. You see, we're just like shadows on the earth, just temporary co-conspirators on planet Earth. So make every day your very best. Enjoy your best life, otherwise you too could end up in a fucking ghost story. As a former zombie, which is a close relative of ghosts. I don't really aspire to continue in that vein. I want to be fleshed out and fully rejuvenated and vitalised, revitalised, and live my best life for as long as the gods allot me on planet Earth. And pushing 60, how many years have I got? 10, 20, 30, a day, a moment. Better not tempt the gods too much, because they can be, they listen. Be careful what you wish for, people of that. But enjoy every moment, is what I'm saying, with the ones who truly love you and care about you. And yes, enjoy this beautiful blue marble we're all spinning around on for however long the marble decides to keep spinning, am I right? Don't think Mother Gaia likes being referred to as a blue marble, but it's what she kind of looks like from way, way, way out in outer space. So there is that. Anyway, I begin reading The Mystery of the Min Min. There have been reports of ghost lights appearing all over rural Australia since the beginning of white settlement, and probably before, but the Min Min is the granddaddy of all such lights, the one everybody's heard of and every bushman claims to have seen. Min Min is an Aboriginal word for what no one is absolutely sure. But the light was not named by Aborigines. Well, you can spank my ass and call me Judy on that one. I had no idea. I thought it was a genuine, would have been named by them since it's their word. Anyway, I'm not the author of this story, so we'll have to go with his reality, won't we? According to legend, it was named after the Min Min Hotel on the Old Coach Road between Winton and Boulia in central western Queensland. I didn't know that. Did you know that, people of Earth? Learnt something new today. Where it first appeared on the Old Coach Road at the Min Min Hotel. There is, however, some doubt as to whether the light was named after the hotel or the hotel after the light. Interesting concept. Which came first? Hotel is far too grand a title for the timber and corrugated iron shanty built about a century and a quarter ago to serve as a way station for Cobb and Co coaches. Most such places had bad reputations, but the Min Min had the worst of any in the region. It reputedly served rot-gut liquor at, because I went to say liqueur, that's why I tripped over my own tongue. It's reputedly served rot-gut liquor at exorbitant prices. Doubled as a brothel and was the haunt of thieves, cattle rustlers and other assorted villains. Legend insists that many travellers and naive jackaroos disappeared there and that the small cemetery behind the hotel was conveniently provided to bury the evidence. So I don't know why, but my skin's really freaking itchy this afternoon. Oh well, a bit tired I suppose. So infamous did the Min Min become that someone put a match to it one dark night in 1917 and it burned to the ground, or so the legend goes. Fucking Queenslanders. You know, they really, especially out in the country, they know how to tell a tall tale. Infamous for it. Where's such and such? Trying to drive, get directions. Just a little bit down the road, love. 50 or 100 kilometres later. Oh, they like to spin you on a dime, Queenslanders. Oh, annoying people at times, but funny as hell. When they're being, supportive and helpful, they can be funny. They can be good salt of the earth people. But anyway, where were we? Reliable records, if they existed, would probably disprove most of the above and reveal a much more mundane history for this miserable little hostelry. Records do show the name of the last proprietor, a Mrs. Hastert, but there is no real evidence that she presided over, over a branch office of Sodom or Gomorrah. Records also show that there were devastating bushfires in the district in 1917. Mrs. Hastert's brother was badly burned fighting one, so it seems more likely that nature disposed of the Min Min Hotel with a human avenger. The generally accepted story of the first sighting of the Min Min light belongs to later the same year, when a hysterical stockman burst into Boulia police station at around midnight one night, gabbling about being chased by a ghost. After the local constable calmed him down, the stockman told how he had been riding past the ruins of the Min Min Hotel at about 10 p.m. when a ball of light suddenly rose from the middle of the cemetery, hovered as if getting its bearings, then darted towards him. That would freak anyone out. I'm serious about it. I would probably freak if that happened to me. And I'm a grand believer in the paranormal. It's like not too much phases me, but I think that would be a little bit disturbing. The stockman panicked, dug his boots in, and galloped towards Boulia. Several times he looked over his shoulder and the light was still there. Followed him to the outskirts of the town, then disappeared. Skeptics who know the region may well wonder how the horse and rider managed to cover 100 kilometres in 2 hours. But let's not spoil a good story. See what I mean about Queenslanders and their blarney or tall tales? They like to embellish, especially over a couple of beers. Just saying. In 1961, a reported sighting from 1912, predating the above and the destruction of the hotel by 5 years, came to light. Could have brushed my hair before I came online, couldn't I? Could have not. Made a fucking effort. But never mind, people. That is what it is. Henry Lamont, one time manager of Warrinda Station, on whose land the hotel stood, claimed that he had seen the light in the winter of that year. Its appearance had at first alarmed him, but when he realised his horse was quite unperturbed by it, Lamond decided his own fear was unwarranted. Well, yeah, because horses, they don't shy at anything. I usually when I've had hauntings here, for example, I would check to see when Beauregard was alive. When we were haunted by that motherfucker David Davidson for 4 consecutive nights. The first night was a dog that sat up and stood to attention when the knock started. So I kind of was guided by what my dog was reacting to before I realised it's all very odd, and jumped up through the door open, no one was there, and saw the look of shock on Beauregard's face. There's dogs, of course, and cats and birds. They have a different, light spectrum to us. So most animals or birds can actually see spirits. He was definitely seeing something. I couldn't see anything, but I heard the auditory. Well, the dog did too, but we had the auditory effects. It wasn't a hallucination, because if I was hallucinating, dogs and animals are not going to have a shared hallucination with you. So anyway, he was so freaked out. I ran to the door, no one there. I could run back. Beauregard just looked at me like this, I think he was actually seeing him. It was very, very frightening. But if I have an animal around and there's a poltergeist or spirit around the house or around me or wherever I am out in the world, wherever I go visiting people out, I always check to see how their pets are reacting before I then start to freak out, Well, I don't really freak out, but just kind of, I always look to see if the animals can see or hear it too. Because if they can see and hear it, then it's real, people of Earth. You're not imagining it. Very, very good barometers of spiritual activity, animals. And what am I going to do now that Charlie's gone? I've got no one here to let me know when things are around except for my own spidey senses. But it used to be quite good in a way, especially when the cats and the dog were still alive, because they would let me know. They would start, cats would start staring to a particular corner of the room, or hackles would go up, and I'd always know, all right, something's here, and maybe it was negative, maybe it was positive, you can't always tell, but the animals were definitely reacting accordingly. Anyway, on with the story we go. There have been so many reported sightings since then that it would take most of this book to recount them all. Station owners and managers, policemen, ministers of religion, school teachers, shopkeepers, and no-nonsense bushmen have seen the Min Min light. Most of them intelligent and honest people whose credibility is unquestionable. Or describe it as a round or oval ball of light glowing so it illuminates its surroundings, travelling between 1 and 2 metres above the ground, either in a straight or undulating line. Sometimes it appears to stop and hover. Sometimes it bobs about and usually dives towards the earth and disappears. Not with a whistle. That was just my own, hyperbolic dramatism. Well, work with me, people of Earth. Work with me. Or not, as the case may be. There are almost as many, you have to laugh. There are almost as many theories about its origin as there are sightings. The supernatural cool claim that such lights are spirits of the dead. ghosts in human form. Just notice my rings are feeling a bit tight today, so I must be holding forward. Haven't been very well last night. Don't need to go into the details, but yeah, not well. Anyway, on we go. Skeptics with some knowledge of the bush suggest that the lights may emanate from fluorescent fungi, such are quite common. Yes, my daughter pointed it out to me one time when we went through to the Myala forest. She showed me the glow-in-the-dark fungi. They're amazing. They look kind of like white, opaque, like clear, like whitish, kind of almost see-through, transparent. But if you put them in the dark and then look at them through the dark and shine a flash on them, they glow in the dark. Amazing. She's quite the expert on fungi, my daughter. She's fascinated by fungi, by mushrooms. I don't think she takes mushrooms as a psychedelic, but she's just fascinated by searching for all different kinds of mushrooms. She showed me what the 5-finger what are they called? Dead man's hand or something mushrooms look like. They're red and they look like 5 fingers. They're amazing. I don't think anyone eats them because they're probably deadly poisonous, but yeah, she used to take me through the bush and show me all the different shrooms, and I said to her, that's kind of interesting, Crystal, because my grandmother used to take my mother, Gisela, and foraging for edible mushrooms and gleaning at the edges of the forest and the edges of farms. You were allowed to forage on the edges of farms in pre-war and wartime Germany. It was acceptable for the general public to go forage on the edge of people's lands for mushrooms or edible herbs or whatever you could frickin' find, because people were hungry, basically, especially during the war. Anyway, or from birds who have brushed their wings against the fungi. Oh yes, I guess that could happen. Fireflies are also sighted, as are swarms of moths, their wings reflecting moonlight. None of these is likely. Personally, I've never seen a mobile mushroom, and the only common bush birds that hover, eagles and hawks, are not nocturnal. A swarm of moths would not be visible at any great distance. And fireflies, well, there was no doubting their ability to emit light. But as one bushman put it, you'll need about 10 million of the little buggers standing shoulder to shoulder to produce a light that bright. Traditional science groups the Min-Min and other similar Australian lights along with European and North American will-o'-the-wisps and jack-o'-lanterns into the category Ignis fatuus, which simply means foolish fire, and attributes them to march gas, methane, or phosphorated hydrogen, the gas that escapes from decaying animal matter. As the Min-Min light was said to originate in a cemetery, the presence of the latter was possible once, but its domain is far too arid to produce marsh gas. Subterranean gas escaping through fissures or drill holes is more likely, and records show the Min-Min Hotel was built beside a water bore. But all theories involving gas rely on the premise that the gas somehow self-ignites, which is impossible. Reminds me I've got to buy another oxygen tank. Last time it cost me $89, probably gone up since then. Jesus. But I can't, I need it for my Smith little torch. I can't melt silver without it. I can use my MAC gas bottle, but I've bought the bloody expensive torch, so I need to be using it, people of Earth. Stop waffling around, pussyfooting around, going round and round in circles. Just, yeah, Mamati has to be clear, singular focus. Stop running around in shadows. How does that song go? Climbing into spider webs. How does that song? No Doubt song. I'll Google it. Let's Google it. I used to know all the words to that song. Can't even think of it now. Oh dear goddess. Let me just fix this stupid thing. I uploaded a video on YouTube with my king parrots and it's come up with some weird thing. I don't want to schedule. How do I change that? I'll make it now. What's the time? I don't know how this YouTube's doing weird things to me lately. Very weird things, because I actually gave it a title and now it's saying it won't let me because it's in the past. Why do you have to do this now when I'm in the middle of making a video, tongue errands? Let me just, I won't worry about that, it's too confusing. It's got me thrown for a loop. I posted this on my Facebook. And this is one of my earth angels, one of my team, my beautiful friends who just love me no matter what. No matter how fucking crazy I get, she just loves me. I came back from visiting my friend Margaret. I've got this like weird fucking look on my face, right? I've developed this weird look on my face. I kind of look like a gangster. And I wrote, I'm the last one standing, sacred space. What are you going to do? Kill me? Meaning, you know, all my pets have died. Every last motherfucking pet. There's only 2 little goldfish in the front pond. And anyway, my beautiful friend Sally Castle wrote, never! She knows I'm not that easy to kill. Many people have tried, people of it. Many, including some doctors and medical personnel as well. So it's, I mean, I shouldn't laugh, it's not funny. It's getting a bit concerning actually. But anyway, last house stand, I'm the last resident of Sacred Space standing is what I'm saying. Let me just Google No Doubt. No Doubt. Climbing into spider webs. It's on the tip of my tongue. Do you think I can think of it? Oh dear goddess. Just work with me, people of Earth. I know I'm having a weird segue. I'm losing my mind. I'm probably descending into dementia. It's not Don't Speak. It's not Just a Girl. It's not, oh, duh, spider webs. I just want the lyrics. Oh yeah, I'm walking into spider web, so leave a message and call me back. Right. Wow. Now how do I stop it? Stop! Yeah, I'm walking into spider web, so leave a message and call me back. Well, it's a bit like that. Even my family of spiders that I've been carefully nurturing at my back door, St Andrew's Cross, even they died after Charlie died that week, in the last week. They disappeared too. Some bird came and ate them. So there's been a lot of death, including my friendly spiders that I've been, I knew the birds would get them in the end. That's why I decided to just let them live their best lives, because life's short and precious, even for spiders. And they weren't a threat to me where they were. So that whole family of spiders got taken by something. So it's no surprise I'm a little bit feckin' rattled and upset. And here I am, ghoulishly reading ghost stories for YouTube, because nothing says macabre and dark and death and mourning like reading about actual ghosties. You have to laugh, people of Earth. Someone out there loves me and thinks I'm cool. I don't know who they are, but someone does. Oh, well, my friends think I'm cool, telling me I'm never going to die in this place. Well, I have to get out of this place if this keeps up. The life force is an ever diminishing feedback loop. It's not good. I didn't schedule any time. Just your algorithms decided to mess with me. You animals. Set as premiere. Maybe that'll work. No. I don't know what's going on with my YouTube. I really don't. It's very frustrating. Very frustrating indeed. Maybe try refreshing. I don't even know what a premiere is. I'm going to have to edit that because that doesn't look right. Premiering. No. Yes, end premiere. Anyway, I'll fiddle with it later to the point of distraction. It's raining. Can you believe it? It's raining. It's odd. Didn't expect it to rain. It was such a lovely day today. Well, it's okay, because when I was out at Jacob's Well yesterday, at the Jacob's Well Tavern there, the storm was imminent and was blowing over. And I'm a weather witch. It's one of my abilities. And everyone's kind of looking up, and I went, the weather's looking a bit dodgy. And so I said, we'll just have to move that on so it comes back to us later. And I just shoved it out of the way, and it held off. I got a few drops of rain driving back from Jacob's Well back to Brisbane, back to my home here. And I thought, that's interesting. Namati. I succeeded at holding off the rain again. But it's raining now, but it's okay because I'm home and I'm safe and I'm comfortable in my own little home, so it's got to rain sometimes. Right, where were we? Right, they thought that the Min Min lights were foolish fire or ignis fatuus, and attributes them to marsh gas, methane, or phosphorated hydrogen, the gas that escapes from decaying animal matter. As the Min Min light was said to originate in a cemetery, the presence of the latter was possible once, but its domain is far too arid to produce marsh gas. That's true. It's odd, isn't it? Subterranean gas escaping through fissures or drill holes is more likely, and records show the Min Min Hotel was built beside a water bore, but all theories involving gas rely on the premise that the gas somehow self-ignites, which is impossible. Right, we got that far. I even remember reading that whole paragraph. Oh, dear goddess, I'm right off my nutter, aren't I? I'll have to go to bed early. That's what I'm going to need to do. Calm my farm and take myself off to bed. Old lady Tanya's, you can't focus on your own storytelling. Have to go to bed, people of Earth. That very rare natural phenomenon, ball lightning, which travels across the landscape at high speed, has also been suggested as an explanation. But like all lightning, it dissipates quickly and never remains visible for as long as these lights are claimed to. Some very distinguished scientists have studied the phenomenon, arriving in Boulia in a flurry of publicity and making claims of infallible theories, but most have not even managed to see the light, let alone explain it. The famous novelist H.G. Wells, The Time Machine and The War of the Worlds, took an interest in it while visiting Australia. But even his fertile mind could not come up with an explanation. Probably the first plausible explanation came in the 1990s from Colin Croft of Charleville, who discovered that he could see a grass fire at night that was at least 80 kilometres away and below the horizon. Croft claimed that what he saw was a reflection of the fire on a layer of dense air. This tied in with an old theory that said the light only appeared when a lighted lamp was placed in a window at Lucknow, the nearest station homestead to the Min Min Hotel. An even more cogent and convincing argument for this theory came in 2003 when a University of Queensland neuroscientist, Professor Jack Pettigrew, published a paper in the Journal of the Australian Association of Optometrists. Professor Pettigrew, who knows his way around Western Queensland and has seen the light, concluded that what he saw was an inverted image, the image of a distant bright light carried on a cold, dense layer of air, and that the terrain of the Channel Country makes the area ideal for this phenomenon to occur. Professor Pettigrew also cited another famous case where this phenomenon had produced an image of the Irish coast floating above the calm Atlantic and observed by the crew of a ship more than 1,000 kilometres from land. How is that possible? Interesting. While scientists, because there's High Brazil is believed to be an island off, like an illusory imaginary island off the coast of Ireland that they believe used to belong to Atlantis, that appears and disappears in the horizon from time to time. So again, it might be another manifestation trick of the light. I've also heard of a story of people looking to the sky and seeing other cities or ships sailing upside down as if we were looking into another dimension or another world parallel to ours. So fascinating stuff, people of Earth. Just saying. The Min Min has also proved good for business in Boulia in recent times. The town now hosts the Min Min Light Big Sky Festival every September, and during the tourist season, visitors can view the Min Min Encounter, a high-tech display in the town centre. Why would you want to do that? I'd want to see the real thing, not some holographic copycat display. I want authenticity and truth in all aspects of my life, people of Earth. As a trauma survivor, it's the only way I can continue to function. Truth or bust, babies. If the reader feels inclined to go Min Min light watching, I suggest you take the Kennedy Development Road from Boulia, cross the Hamilton River, then just west of the boundary between Warrenda and Lucknow is the site of the old Min Min Hotel. I'll have to go there one day, won't I? Now I'm not tied down by any pets after Charlie's death. All I need is petrol, enough money for petrol, and food and water, and a sleeping bag, and I don't know what else would I need. I don't like camping. I'd have to take a sleeping bag though, and maybe go to a camping site where they have one of those little shacks that you stay in, little huts. So I don't like sleeping on the ground. I'm too old for that shit. I don't do camping. Camping is not my thing. But one of those little, camping huts would be okay. If they're clean and not riddled with snakes and spiders, because going out west, don't know what you come across in one of those places. Dear goddess. But it's time, if I had enough money, it's time I travelled a bit more. The old coach road is about 500 metres north of the present thoroughfare, and there's not much left of the ruins. Just a scattering of broken glass and some rusting rails around the cemetery. It's not the most pleasant place to be after dark, but your perseverance just might be rewarded with a glimpse of the legendary light. I'm a bit confused because I thought you could see Min Min lights in other states of Australia. Like, I thought you could see them out near Alice Springs. I thought they could be seen in South Australia and further west out, towards Perth. A bit confused by all this. I guess there's other lights, but they probably don't call them Min Min. Something most Australian ghost lights, including the Min Min, have in common is that they give rise to curiosity rather than fear. By and large, those who witness their transit across the landscape feel privileged rather than petrified, but not all. A light which appears in the Burnett region of Queensland has been dubbed the Blair Moor Ghost, because local legend has it that this mysterious light has enshrined the tormented spirits of a succession of murder victims. Well, that's not good, is it, people of Earth? The Blair Moor Ghost first appeared on Christmas Eve about 90 years ago, the day after a mailman met his death on Blair Moor Station. When the unfortunate mailman was buried, rigor mortis had not set in, and the local Aborigines believed he was still alive and would return as a Debble. It seemed their prophecy came true when the mysterious light appeared. Many people have seen the light since, including Jim Matheson JP, former government stock inspector and Brisbane City Councillor, who published details of his encounter with the Blairmore Ghost in 1957. It makes spine-chilling reading. Matheson was driving along the boundary road of Blairmore Station on a humid, stormy night when his car became bogged in a wide patch of mud. Unable to free the vehicle, Matheson settled back in the back seat to sleep until morning. Minutes later, another car came along the road travelling fast and, before Matheson could give warning, ploughed into the mud up to its axles. The second car contained a commercial traveller and his wife. The three chatted for a while, then returned to their cars to sleep. Matheson was just dozing off when he heard distant, pitiful cries of "Help! Help! Help!" He scrambled out of his car and cupped his hands behind his ears. The cries seemed to be coming from the middle of a nearby paddock. Matheson hastily pulled on his boots and set off in the direction of the cries, which were still coming at brief intervals. Before he had gone 10 paces, Matheson recalls there was half a stone of sticky black mud clinging to each of his boots, but he struggled on. Now, stone is 14 pounds, so half a stone is 7 pounds. I'm trying to work out how many kilos, but probably a couple of kilos. We must stick to the facts, people of Earth. It's going to grind my gears otherwise. I used to be able to do these conversions in my head. I'm getting old and it's alarming, people of Earth, and what hope do I have for my future, really? It's just fucking pointless, but shh, on we go, soldiering on as I do every day. If I get dementia or Alzheimer's, I'm out of this planet faster than you can say. Ich hab vergessen. Anyway, where was I? Let us find out. How many kilos to a stone? .35 kilos in a stone. So if he had half a stone, roughly 3 kilos. So I wasn't far off with my guess of 2 kilos. I was out by 1, but meh. Who cares? He had a shit ton of mud stuck to his boots, people of Earth. It was dragging him down. Dragging him down, I tell you. But he struggled on. Then he saw the flickering light. It wasn't any shape you could put a name to. It swelled and changed, swelled and shrank like a formless, luminous blob of jelly. When Matheson moved towards the light, it began to dribble towards him like a fat fluorescent slug. Ooh, that would freak me out. Pardon me. The cries for help grew louder and seemed, Matheson recalled with lingering horror, to be all around him and inside him, entering through the pores of his skin. Something out of a horror movie, isn't it? I was absolutely terrified, Matheson admitted. I couldn't move. My legs seemed to be frozen. But worse, I couldn't think straight. All I knew for certain was that I was in the grip of some deadly struggle, and that something no longer alive and just feet away and just feet away was robbing me of my own life force. Then, mercifully, just as Matheson felt himself being sucked, body and soul, into the light, another sound intruded on what was left of his consciousness. The sound of the commercial traveller's wife screaming, the instinctive urge to go to the aid of a woman in distress, a real man, made Matheson turn and run back to the cars. He believed his life was saved at that moment. The three travellers quickly gathered some sticks, paper and petrol and started a fire, then huddled in its cheerful light all night, listening to the distant, terrifying and increasingly desperate cries of "Help! Help!" drifting towards them on the wind. Weird and astonishing. As dawn approached, the sound faded and finally could be heard no more. Jim Matheson searched the paddock in daylight but could find nothing remarkable. Later he related his experience to a local cattleman. "You were lucky," the cattleman said. "A stockman once heard the ghost crying for help and went to it. He was dead when they found him, and his face was not a pretty sight. Some people believe his spirit took the original ghost's place, and that the stockman has been trying to catch another victim ever since. It could have been you out there tonight, Jim, crying for help." 8. Chapter 8. Right, now that weird thing that was with that video has rectified itself. It's just odd, isn't it? I don't understand YouTube sometimes. I'm sure it just throws these things at me just to keep me in a state of perpetual madness or confusion, which I do not like. Must maintain sanity, integrity, body autonomy, and soul authority at all times, morning, noon, and night. Just saying. The ghosts in the glen. Over a pitfall, the moon dew is thawing, and with never a body, two shadows stand soaring. The wraiths of two sawyers step under and under, who did a foul murder and were blackened by thunder. Whenever the storm wind comes driven and driving through the blood-spattered timber, you may see the saw striving. You may see the saw heaving and falling and heaving whenever the sea creek is chafing and grieving. Ghost Glen, Henry Kendall, Australian poet, 1839 to 1882. He was 43 when he died. Awfully young they died in the old days, isn't it? I'm a really ancient lady compared to them. But then my beautiful friend Elsa died at 94, and my own misfit fucking parents were 83 and 89 respectively, so there's longevity in my family line too. Oh, perish the thought. Another 30 years in hell. And my psychiatrist said to me, it won't be hell if we can, fix your sleep apnea and you have a beautiful life with a beautiful man by your side, you might want to live another 30 years. Oh, what a tease that was. Jesus. But anyway, I'm going along with that philosophy because why not? I'm alive, ain't I? Still persisting with the CPAP and dreaming the psychedelic dream of true love and my beautiful life. Anyway, Australian red cedar. Oh, did I say the title was The Ghosts in the Glen? Can't remember, so I've repeated it for you. Australian red cedar was often referred to as red gold in the 19th century. Its durability, fine grain and lustrous colour made it a favoured timber for panelling and furniture making. Cedar cutters were the first white men to arrive in many areas, and fortunes were made from its export while irreparable damage was done to the continent's native forests. Because white men, there's nothing like white men to completely fuck up an ecosystem or an entire planet. Seriously, people of Earth, seriously. Cedar cutters were a rough, tough breed, and there were none rougher or tougher than those who pillaged the dense forests of the south coast of New South Wales. Since 1802, it had been necessary to obtain the governor's permission to log cedar, but most of the cutters who established a base at what is now Kiama, around 1815, were convicts holding tickets of leave who did not give a toss for the governor or his laws. There is no better illustration of the types of men that roamed this wild country in those far-off days than the story of the ghosts in the Glen. I'm still filming. My laptop just made a weird noise, but we're still filming, so we're alright. One of Australia's most durable ghost stories. It survived almost 200 years, a gruesome real-life melodrama in which the characters are divided into good and evil, innocent and corrupt, with biblical clarity. The story begins one wet and windy night in the mid-1820s, when a young Englishman, accompanied by a large, brindled sheepdog, entered the inn at the tiny settlement of Kiama. We'll have to decide on the pronunciation, even if it's wrong, people of Earth. The young man had just arrived from England and was on his way to take up work on Alexandra Berry's property, Coolangatta, at the mouth of the Shoalhaven River. The bar room in the inn was filled with rough characters in various states of drunkenness. A wiser man might have kept his own counsel and his money concealed, but the naive young Englishman offered to shout drinks for the whole company and displayed a purse fat with gold sovereigns. As the night wore on, the young man became drunk, and only two ruffians remained to keep him company. Eventually, he rose unsteadily to his feet, whistled his dog, and announced he had to be on his way. "Now listen, chum," said one of his devious companions. "Me and me mate here, we wouldn't let you off on your own on such a night. There's some real bad lots in these parts. You never know what might happen to you, and you're going south and we're going south. We'll keep you company and show you the way. Very kind of you, sirs. Some such polite words. Oh, look, I tell you what, my vision's blurring now. By the gods. Oh well, that happens when I get a bit weary. Replied the innocent, and the three men and the brindle dog disappeared into the night. The young men never turned up at Alexander Berry's. Sorry, the young man never turned up at Alexander Berry's, and his two erstwhile companions disappeared without trace. Months passed, and the fate of all three might never have been known, had one of Berry's assigned convict servants not become lost in the wild country around the present-day township of Gerringong. Search parties found the servant after 4 or 5 days, cold, wet and hungry. Despite his ordeal, the man appeared to be in full control of his faculties and had an incredible story to tell. In dense fog, he had wandered from the track that ran south between Kiama and his master's property, and had become hopelessly lost in the drearily uniform grey bush. Without food he soon tired, and as night closed in and rain began to fall, he built a rough shelter out of branches and curled up on the cold ground to sleep. The second day was spent fruitlessly searching for the track, and another night, even wetter than the first, huddled in the rude shelter. Sleep was long in coming and short-lived. A distinct tap on the man's shoulder woke him. He raised his head to find a blood-stained hand and forearm raggedly severed at the elbow. On the ground beside his head, and from the distance, he could hear the faint sound of a saw cutting timber. The ghastly limb twitched just centimetres from his nose, and the fingers stretched and clenched as if trying to reach for him. But the man was so terrified he could not move a muscle. After a few seconds, the gruesome light vanished and the sound ceased. The man lay shivering with fear and cold through the rest of that long night, finally dropping back to sleep just an hour before dawn. I need to get my glasses adjusted. They're flipping off all the time. What else is wrong with me today, people of Earth? Dear goddess. But they just seem a bit worse today than they usually are. Odd. But again, he was rudely awakened, this time by an agonizing human scream that echoed through the bush. The sound of the sawing returned too. He peered in the direction the sound was coming from and caught a glimpse of 2 tall figures sawing a log over a saw pit that he was sure had not been there in daylight. One figure was down inside the pit with only his head and shoulders visible, and the other stood on the rim. Their clothes appeared dry, but their faces were wet with perspiration, and their hair and eyes clogged with sawdust. Their lips were drawn back in painful grimaces as they strained at their work, and the long, two-man cross-cut saw flew up and down as it bit into the timber, its rasp ringing loudly now through the bush. Morning came, but not the sun. The wind picked up to gale force and icy rain pelted down. Terror, tiredness and hunger reduced the lost man to a state where he could only crawl about 50 metres to a large hollow log and ease himself inside, where it was blessedly dry, before collapsing into a deep but troubled sleep. Night returned, and with it came a violent electrical storm. One deafening crash of thunder woke the man. He rolled over inside the log and looked towards the open end. There, to his horror, he saw a head, blood-spattered and with terrifying, bloodshot eyes staring back at him. In the distance, he could see a dark shape lying on the ground with what looked like a dog beside it, but the horrible head held his attention. Its battered, blackened mouth was moving as if speaking, but its words were lost in the fury of the storms. Thank God for that. Seriously. To the terrified man's relief, the head vanished after a few seconds, and he was able to climb out of the log. Shielding his eyes from the rain, he stepped closer to the dark shape on the ground and realised it was the body of a man to whose neck the ghastly head was now attached. Beside the body cowered a brindled sheepdog, nudging the lifeless hand that lay nearest to it and licking the bloodied face. A flash of lightning and a peal of thunder signalled the return of the spectral sawyers, now both at ground level and engaged in conversation. Between gusts of wind, the man caught a few foul curses and a few callous words. He's still got about 50 sovereigns in him. We'll cut him up and burn the bastard. I'll have his boots. I'll have his breeches. We'll have to slit that bloody cur's throat too. It ain't no good to no one, and I'm sick of its bloody whining. Both figures then strolled towards the body, each drawing vicious-looking knives from their belts. Another scream, so loud and terrifying that the lost man had to put his hands over his ears, then resounded through the bush, followed by a lightning flash close by that lit the area like the noonday sun and temporarily blinded him. Deafening thunder shook the air. The poor man closed his eyes and fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the natural and unnatural forces that were assailing him. When silence returned, broken only by the pattering of rain and the rustle of the wind as the storm receded, he slowly opened his eyes. The body was gone, so was the dog. The vision of the sawyers and their saw pit had vanished. The lost man was quite alone, surrounded by dark, dripping bush. If someone came forwards with a story like that today, We would probably say it was caused by delirium, but the search party, who found the man wandering several kilometres from the scene of his ordeal, believed him. He was taken back to Berry's property and cared for until his strength returned. Then he guided a party back to the gully he described as a glen, where they found the remains of the shelter and the hollow log he had spoken of. Nearby they found signs of an old campfire, and in it the broken and partially burned bones of a man with a shattered skull. Under a bush, a few metres away, was the skeleton of a large dog, the vertebrae of its neck savagely scored with a knife. I mean, how fucking mean were they? Did they have to kill the dog as well? Why pick on a fucking innocent dog because it's crying for its master? Some people are just so fucking evil, aren't they? They just really are. It's bad enough to kill another human, but they've got to drag everything into their fucking nightmare. Jesus. Well, not Jesus, but you know what I mean. The story of these ghostly visions quickly entered the folklore. I'm more upset about the dog than the man. Isn't that weird? Well, I'm like that. I prefer animals to most people. I've always been like that since childhood. There's a reason why I'm like that. People of Earth. The story of these ghostly visions quickly entered the folklore of the district, told and retold around cosy firesides and memorialised in the poem quoted at the beginning of this chapter. Farmers in the Gerringong region for decades after swore that the lost man was not the only one who saw the spectral sawyers and their human and canine victims. Whenever a violent storm coursed through the coastal ranges, settlers trapped in it reported catching glimpses of the ghoulish tableau and hearing the scrape of that ghostly saw carried on the wind. The story of the spectral sawyers. I'm going to have to get a drink of water. My throat's closing up for the love of all the gods. I'm nearly finished. The story of the spectral sawyers also became a popular moral tale, told to generations of children in the region as warning against trusting strangers and in a few cases to curb the antics of mischievous offspring. Many a child went to bed with the remonstration, "If you're not good, them ghostly sawyers will cut you up into little bits." And many a child's dreams were plagued with visions of severed heads, severed hands, and saw blades spattered with blood. There is a curious codicil that gives credibility to this tale. About 10 years after the murder, an Irish timber splitter named Pat McAnally shared a hut with another man called Jem Hicks at Bully, 40 kilometres up the coast. Hicks was a morose man with a reputation for violence. One stormy night, when the two sat alone in their hut, McAnally commented to his mate that it was a good night for a ghost story and mentioned the ghosts in the glen at Gerringong. Please forgive me, Aboriginal members of the mob that live in that region. I don't speak your language. The reaction from his companion stunned the little Irishman. The much larger Hicks turned on him. "You hold your gab about that there Gerringong business, d'ye hear?" Hicks shouted above the wind. The two men sat without speaking for several minutes. A gust of wind blew open the door and howled through the hut. Jem Hicks jumped to his feet, put his hands to his temples and screamed, "Curse the money! Curse the dog! Will a fella never get no peace?" The little Irishman made an obvious deduction. "You black-hearted hound, you're one of them moidering bastards, ain't ya?" Jem Hicks scowled. He grabbed a piece of firewood and hurled it at McAnally, then ran out into the night. Next day McAnally reported his suspicion to the police, but Jem Hicks was never seen again. 180 years on, there's not much other evidence to test the veracity of this famous and compelling story. The modern holiday village of Gerringong and the surrounding farmlands bear no resemblance to the wild settings of the story. However, there is a fact most chroniclers seem to have overlooked. On a historic property called Own Bank near Gerringong, there is a gully that has always been called, though no one remembers why, the Glen. Perhaps if, with the permission of the owners of Own Bank of course, you were to camp there on a stormy night, you might yet hear that spectral saw and catch a glimpse of those ghastly ghosts in the glen. Alright, let's just see how long the next 2 chapters are. Now I may continue or I may not because I'm rather tired. Yes, they're not that long, but I think I'll leave it till tomorrow. I've got to just accept when I'm tired and just, go with the flow. But I've had a very spiritual and kind of weird day, but I was happy to see my friend Margaret. I'm very, very grateful to have her in my life, 50-year friendship. And I shall look forward to seeing her again on Friday. So on that note, have a beautiful evening, people of Earth. It's currently 6:54 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. And I just had a very weird thought. What date is Friday? I'll just check. Right, we're safe. Because it's my mother's birthday on the 8th, and I often get hauntings or poltergeist activity or some other kind of fucking unsettling weirdness. So, and Margaret, my friend Margaret, knew my mother since she's known me since I was 9 years old. So I was just worried about a confluence that her visit here on Friday, the 7th, might arouse some mischief on the part of my evil, disgusting mother, who sometimes puts in little cameo appearances around the time of her birthday, or else on the 7th of March, which is her death date. So it can be a bit tickety-boo with me for the next month or two when all the birthdays and death dates, especially the first week of March, is not fucking pleasant for me, because the 3rd of March was my the 3rd of March is my father's death day, the 6th of March is his birthday, the 7th of March is my mother's death date, the 8th of March is my grandmother's suicide. So it's literally, from the 28th of February, which was Case, my stepfather, de facto stepfather's birthday, it's literally bang, bang, bang from February right through the first week of March, and it can be a bit spooky, people of Earth, and I jokingly refer it to as the 10 days of awe, the non-Jewish 10 days of awe. in my personal timeline when all my former evil fucking family walk beyond the veil and stir me up a bit. So I can't remember if it was that bad last year. It seems to be fading out with time because my mother's been dead 15 years this March, so might not be so bad this year. Just look on the bright side of life, but I'm hyper vigilant because I expect it, and maybe it's a feedback loop that because I expect it, they manifest, or whether they manifest anyway, I don't know. But anyway, had a bit of a mixed bag of a day today, trying to work things out, who I am as a woman, and who belongs to me and who I belong to. No one but the gods, by the way. And then I had this wonderful reconnection with my beautiful Margaret, which is kind of potent magic in a way, given her mother and my mother were both very psychic and very powerful women. Her mother was Croatian and read the coffee grounds, and my mother was German and read playing cards and then later in life tarot cards. So we're very gifted and we're very much on that vibration, Margaret and I, and it's a beautiful and a powerful thing. So yes, interesting timing that she's coming on Friday on the 7th. It's just a coincidence. There's no great meaning applied to it. It's just the timing, because she's in a conference till Friday. So all good. We'll have a lovely meal together here and hang out and have a lovely time, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So bye for now from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm.